This is for the leaders, the visionaries, the hope bringers, kindness instigators. This is your place to get loved, poured into, activated, and inspired. Well, good morning. Welcome to Fireside Friday. March 20th, 2026. Today is officially the first day of spring. We have the spring equinox happening at 10:46 Eastern time today. And this just means the equinox means that the light is even. We have both um, the same amount of darkness as we do in the light, and then we'll start moving towards the summer solstice at the end of today, where the light will start to, I keep hearing overtake the dark, but I'm trying to really consciously shift my relationship with the dark, the unknown, with the often feminine energy that is kind of shrouded in mystery, because a lot of the cultural handles we have for ourselves, if we've grown up in the Western world, really come from that very patriarchal, masculine lens of love of the light. And I do love the light. I'm really, really excited that we have more light and longer days. But I do appreciate what has been in the soil and the seeds that we have been sitting with, contemplating. And today, and spring is all about planting those seeds. And I was thinking about right, the balance between the light and the dark. What we've been kind of considering in the winter, what we've been sitting with, maybe some things that we might want to release as we start to plant some seeds. What do we want our gardens to look like in a couple months? This is kind of where we start looking at our lives and pruning back weeds that we may see cropping up, clearing out the beds, really kind of thinking about where we want things to go. Last week for Fireside, I was really emphasizing and encouraging us to remember that we have the ability to really focus our antennas, to really cultivate joy and hope, no matter the circumstances that we're inside of. And this feels really also important for us as we consider the seeds that we'll be planting. What do we want to take into the spring? What do we want to intentionally cultivate and make space for? What do we want to water? What do we want to prune away? So there is this idea of what are we releasing as we step into this new season? And then also, what are we seeking to grow inside of the season? It may be also beneficial at some point today or even early tomorrow to write a few of your intentions that you would like to see happen in the spring, maybe two or three, and you can keep those somewhere sacred or special to you. And you can revisit those every now and again, maybe once a week, and try to think about what are some action steps that you could take on behalf of one of those goals. Um, because again, we can plant the seeds, we can be in co-creation with nature. Things shift and change. Our last year was the first year that I ever put in an outdoor garden, really. I learned some things, but some things I'm still feeling fuzzy on. What's really cool though is I decided a little over a week ago. I don't think it's been 2 weeks. Time is flying. I think it was just over a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, that I planted some flower seeds, and I've got some grow lights here. And so I just put them in these little cups of soil, tried to follow the directions as closely as I could. I am not a direction girl. So, um, but I they have sprouted up like I already have. I wanted to bring the tray down here with me, but real talk, we had our power off for part of yesterday, and so they lost some of the light, the seedlings. But then I also have Walter and Lola out here with me, and I didn't know if they would be able to survive the curiosity that could come with some of that. I can actually pull up a picture because I do want you to see, and I should also be able to verify the date. What day? March 11th. So on the 11th, I planted these seeds. And what's kind of cool about this is how quickly to see they have come up. Let me share this. You guys can take a peek at on the left side of this in these 5 cups over here is a wildflower blend. So it was like scattered. And I was like, okay, we'll see what happens. I worry that these may compete a little more for light and sustenance. We'll see what happens with that. And then on the right side, I have some zinnias. And so it's been really um, powerful to see how quickly, what we plant and what we give intention to can spring up. I wasn't expecting to see them so soon. And especially when you consider, right, that these seeds were from a packet. They're dry. I don't know. There's 1 cup that hasn't seen any growth yet. So I'm interested to see what happens with that. Again, this has been a total experimental kind of thing where I'm seeing what works in my environment, what doesn't, and I really won't know again until we're in this season. But that's one of the things too. I feel like we're really being encouraged right now is to play, to experiment, to bring this energy of spring, and let this joy of this natural movement of the earth be something that moves inside of us that creates this internal kind of festival if we let it. I know still some that we are inside of unprecedented times, but I was thinking about this morning. I wonder at what point times weren't feeling unprecedented. Because I know that if the systems we're living inside of right now are collapsing, we're watching this happen in real time. Um, but I wonder, like, how often in history people have been living inside of systems that were failing, that needed fixing, that needed tending, that needed a different set of plans or vision for the garden that they wanted to bring forward. And one of my intentions today was to also bring forward just some good news that I'm seeing. And I went to go also seek that out. I was encouraging all of us to do that last week of fostering that hope and that joy. One of the things that I heard actually yesterday, which is really cool, is that I think a year or two ago, Ireland experimented with fun, like giving artists a living pay or a living wage. And all they were told to do was make your art. And I think they paid them about $1,500 a month. Um, what they saw over that time was that artists produced more art. They didn't feel as anxious. And actually, it paid a little over it more than paid for itself because of the joy that it stimulated. The economy was stimulated because people were engaging, purchasing this art. So people were creating what they felt led to do, and other people were inspired and connected to that and brought it into their homes. And so Ireland is actually made it permanent. I think it's at $2,000 a month at this point, where they are going to fund you as an artist if you live there to just create. Another community that I read about too, I think it's called Camp Chateau. This it's a camp in France, and this old chateau was purchased. It was crowd funded by a group of women, and I think you can still be part of other things that they're building. They've created a model where you essentially they have a certain threshold that they want you to be a founding member. And I think it was between like $8,000 and $10,000. Once you fund part of this, then you're part of it for life. You get access to it. And this was what helped make it possible for them to purchase the chateau in the first place. And what they've done is they created some camps, intentional camps for women to go and participate in. So if you're a founding member, you get to go to any of the camp stuff. You can go use it as much as you want. And then they have rates for when you come and you can set experiences up for yourself. But it really, really energized me to see how a group of women, a group of people with vision, got together and made something happen. They turned their intention together in forward momentum towards something they wanted to build and see and cultivate. Um, and then another, which I had heard, I hadn't seen the updates of, but I think his name Salgado. Um, I am almost certain his wife. Oh, it starts with an L. Anyway, he grew up, I think it was in South America, um, I believe, where he grew up on in like a rainforest, but they demolished that rainforest. To use all of the wood. And when he came back and returned, it was just devastated. So he and his wife took um, the next 20 years to restore the land, to regrow that rainforest. And they have done that. And I was looking at pictures of the progression, definitely worth seeing. And they learned a lot along the way. It wasn't all up and to the right. There were dips and there were turns and there were twists. But they set out to do something to revive something that had been pillaged or burned or taken advantage of. And so many of you in this space have all of these ideas, these great hopes and visions for what things could look like in each of your respective industries. This is how we do that. We really have to give ourselves permission, time, and space to be with these seeds that we desire to plant, because this is part of how we do that. Giving ourselves permission, time, and space to visualize that for ourselves, yes, to also give ourselves time to build some clarity or words or language. That means being in proximity to the things, believing that those things that are there on our hearts and mind, they're actually there for the entirety of the whole. And I think that that is also something we're going to continue to see in the continued deconstruction that's happening across the board, is that we are going to build from the inside out, from these smaller community efforts, from building gardens together, agriculture together, where we start seeing more breakdowns in our supply chains from these bigger decisions that have been made. We are going to have to start continuing looking for the helpers in our communities, and they are here. It's just about asking for eyes to see them. It's asking for the synchronicities to cross our paths, to also trust that we also have the seeds that we want to plant and cultivate, but that we are in deep connection with one another. This isn't just a one person job. That was a conversation I had a couple times over this last week as well, since the last fireside, and it feels important to bring up, is that so often, most of the time, we're told the hero's journey. That's one person, it's the savior, it's going to be the person who's going to pull it all off, and that's a lot of pressure. And really and truly, that's actually not how great change happens. Great change often happens because of a very small group starting something and then that rippling out. um, it's not to say that one person can't make a huge difference, but remembering too that we belong inside of an organism that is bigger than ourselves. That is both freeing in some ways, but also really helping us to really tap into what is actually my role. What is the garden I want to be planning and living inside of and inviting people to? What do I want to foster in this season? These are all pieces and elements elements that are coming into our spring energy here. Even yesterday, it was so funny because I didn't really put this together, but I was just kind of following my own instinct yesterday. Like, what do I want to do next? Because I didn't have a lot on my calendar. And I found myself going to a couple home stores because I'm like, ugh, I am so over my environment. And then I was listening to a little podcast episode this morning talking about the spring equinox. And one of the things she was talking about, she was like, don't be surprised if you are ready to bring some new energy into your home. And I was like, it's there for me. It's just, I think this is also one of those things too. This is just an aside. Listening to that same episode, what was cool, she was talking about some of the elements um, of ways that Easter, you know, is imbued with a lot of different pagan beliefs. And I've never really known anything about the egg, not really. Um, the cosmic egg makes sense to me because we have like you know, the resurrection, rebirth, things coming back to life. But what she said was that, uh, what is it? Chickens. Chickens don't produce as many eggs in the winter. Their bodies take a little pressure off. They just don't produce as much. And when the spring comes, their production comes back. And so often that's where we're getting some of that Easter egg. The other thing was there was maybe a deity called the Puka, which is traditionally actually associated a lot we see with the fall equinox. But what she was saying she found was that there were mentions actually that the puka would actually come in the spring, and puka is like a ship-shaping kind of entity or energy. And so one of the things she talked about was that it almost, I think, appeared in the spring as like a half hair, half something else. But one of the reasons too that the hare, the bunny, is associated with spring is the fertility. Because I also, fun fact, didn't know that, and maybe you didn't either, that bunnies can actually like already be pregnant and they can like pre-germinate their next litter. They can start a second batch while the first batch is still baking. That's kind of interesting. So it's like I did not even know. So we have a lot of those references of fertility, of new life, of life coming in and reviving us. And so, if you've also been just ready for more light, ready for more warmth, we're headed in that direction. Today, I have two cards for us actually that came out. So, I'm going to start with the first, which is the Heart Guardian. Love and let yourself be loved. Welcome with open arms, opportunities to give and receive love. The Heart Guardian is an angelic energy that can help you call for protection and guidance with all issues surrounding the heart. This is essentially the angel who helps you with all relationships, whether they be with yourself, family, or even a romantic connection. She can enable you to move beyond any limiting fears about trust, discern whom to trust, and understand how you can move forward in a balanced relationship with that person. In this card, she is adorned with a sacred heart and draped in a red cloak to show her capacity to let love lead the way. You are love, lovable, and loving. The energy of love is surrounding your whole world at this time. Angels are swirling around you, encouraging you to open your heart and reveal the blessings that you have to offer. They want you to know that you are a highly loving being who deserves to give and receive love. If you are finding it challenging to feel love at this time, it's important for you to give yourself credit where it's due. You're also encouraged to welcome support from others. Learn to receive. Don't try and do everything on your own. If you're working on a relationship or in a new relationship, this card can usher in energies that allow you to forge a powerful connection with your partner. Love is in the air. Well, I love this too because I've been also feeling like this is also a good time for us to also be nourishing ourselves, really tending our soil, where making sure too that we're eating. food that gives us vitality, that brings that nourishing from the inside out. I learned last year too how important it is to fertilize the soil. So these are areas and aspects reminding us too that it's also not something that we have to necessarily facilitate, that you are loved, that you are supported and guided. And I just continue to feel this energy um of of support, but also like I keep seeing us like dancing in our gardens, like really making them our own, but like authentically letting our true essence come to life, letting it be kooky and weird and whimsical if we want to, like creating things that didn't exist before, because that's also how inspiration and change happens. So often we won't do that if we don't feel supported, loved, and seen. And this is part of the message of this card is that you are always loved and seen because you are love. You do get to dance and create in a way that loves you, that plays with you, that tussles your hair. This is such a good time to just receive that. And again, if you're struggling to believe that, that's okay. Look for it in the small micro moments. Start noticing where support crops up for you that you really can't take credit for. Because I promise you, the eyes that you have to see that will be, you will find that what we choose to focus on does expand. And if we're learning, and if we treat our mind like a garden, for some of us, it's really overgrown with some old ideas, with some things that have just been with us for a long time. And so sometimes rooting those things out takes time, but I promise you can revive and restore and bring new energy anywhere that you crave. And again, a reminder from this card. You are not alone as you do that. You will have the support that you need, which leads me to our second card, which is the Shield Maiden. Make plans and focus. Have a plan or strategy in place before moving forward. The Shield Maiden is the female knight in shining armor. In Viking traditions, women were seen as equal to men, and so joined them on their raids and fought with them on the battlefield. In this deck, the Shield Maiden brings a fiercely feminine energy, the power to be a warrior while retaining feminine sensitivity. She is ready to put her plan into action. She's ready to go into battle. Her medicine helps us move beyond any unsettled feelings when our plans start to take shape and follow through with our strategies in order to be where we want to be. Shield maidens worked together in times gone by to create shield walls of protection. So she also shows us how to work with others in order to bring our plans to fruition. Taking some time to assess what your next step will be, all great warriors have a plan. You are a sensitive being, and if you are not prepared for the task you're taking on, you could end up feeling exposed and helpless. The ancestor guidance that is coming to you now is a reminder that you have a warrior's heart and that you have it within you to be more prepared and focused than you have been recently. So have a strategy in place and then let your guide support you as you move forward. And this is just supportive of that same energy of the things that have been on your heart and mind. It is time to move forward. It is time to take action. The time is now. Those things that have been on your heart and mind, or ideas maybe that you still don't quite have language for. They're ready for you to sit with them. They're ready for you to cultivate them. They're ready for you to just even plant the seeds. Have conversations with those around you who may be doing the things that you want to be doing, or shades or echoes of that thing. Get curious about people's journey, how they got to where they are now. Because I promise you, if you listen to anyone talk about their trajectory, of where they were to what they've cultivated now, their garden didn't start out as an oasis, right? It started out as a plot of land that needed vision, tending, love, and intention. And this is your life. This is your life. You get to be an active joyful, exuberant participant. You are here to mix things up, to change the game. So scatter your seeds joyfully with intention, with knowing that you are held, supported, and that you are loved, and that you can have everything that you need, and you will have it as you need it as you continue to move towards the things that are on your heart today. Happy spring. I'll see you next week. Back for just one moment, I realized that I created something else that I wanted to share with you, and I forgot to mention it. I made a playlist in the winter, kind of tapping into the energy of winter on Spotify, and I did the same thing for spring. So I'm going to link it down in the show notes for you. If you need a little infusion of a little spring energy, it may be worth checking out. All right, this time I really will see you next week.